Good morning, Bernard. How are you today?
I'm going fine.
I'm doing fine.
I'm doing fine, yes.
Fantastic. It's good to hear that. Today, we're going to read from the ESL Lounge, The Red Couch. I'd like to ask you to describe for me this thing here. What is this? Describe this for me. What do you think it is? What color it is? Does it look comfortable?
It's a red canapé from the 18th century, a French canapé, an old antique piece of furniture which is up, up, upholstered in red,
Mm-hmm. Upholstered.
up,
Upholstered.
upholstered in red, uh, and it's a piece of furniture we can find to an antique dealer, from an antique dealer.
Okay, you mentioned the word canopy. When I think of the English word canopy, it's a covering, maybe similar to an awning that's on a house to keep you from getting wet. Is this considered a canopy or a couch?
A sofa or couch.
Okay, a sofa or a couch. Now, just for clarification, what is a canopy?
Uh, in French, a canapé is a thing like that, but I don't know in English.
Okay, so that was what I was wondering. So in French, the word canopy would mean a couch. It could be a couch. For me, I only think of a canopy as a covering. Have you seen an awning on a home that keeps the rain? If you're trying to open your door to your home, the weather would be raining, the awning or the canopy would keep you from getting wet.
Ah, okay, I understand. In fact, in front of my door,
Mhm.
who could go outside, in front of the door, we have a small glass.
Exactly.
We keep the visitors, we keep the visitor dry
hmm
if it rains. Okay, and this kind of object is a canopy. Okay, I understand.
Okay, for us, it would be a canopy. All right. Now, what do you remember about furniture in the house where you grew up? Did you have antique furniture or did you
No,
just,
no, no. When I grew up, all the furniture in the house of my parents were old. Not because they were bought to an antique dealer,
hmm
but because they were given by relatives after the
hmm
death of their parents who are friends of the family.
uh-huh.
So in fact, we have only old objects, old furniture. Nearly everything was new.
Do you have anything in your current home from your family home?
Mm, no, no, I didn't keep anything.
Okay. Do you remember if you were allowed, well, do you remember if there was something in your home as a child that you were not allowed to?
No, no. As I told you, in my home when I grew up, there was no object who was expensive or who was protected because it was it was expensive. No, I have nothing. Nothing.
You were allowed to touch anything in your house.
Yes, I'm allowed to touch anything in my house.
Okay. Let's look at letter B and tell me if you can tell me what these words are.
Yes, I look at the dictionary. A downpour and it will rain quickly and strongly.
hmm
Betrayed is when you are not, we are clothes who are torn,
hmm
when very important.
Okay.
Bestride,
And it's going to be bedraggled, bedraggled.
bedraggled. Bedraggled if I had some old clothes were torn, were very old, I can say that I wear clothes, bedraggled clothes.
Bedraggled clothing. And what does this word mean? Very.
Very, like very expensive, very beautiful.
Okay.
It's
So
an, it's
so
an adjective.
so we could say it's means more.
More, yes, it means more, yes.
And the word decipher.
Decipher, when you read a letter who was like a dwarf, not very well written,
Written, not well written.
you need to take, for example, glass to decipher the writing.
Very good. To determine, to make a decision, to interpret.
Yes.
And
And muster I didn't understand really. I look at the dictionary and I found office. I found office, and I suppose it's not that.
no, muster. Okay, to gather something in one place or another. Example, I had to muster my courage to face the bear.
Okay.
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 So to gather something is to gather my wits. I had to gather something. I had to develop maybe.
Okay.
Develop or create. So I had to gather or develop something to accomplish
Okay.
the task or okay.
Okay.
So can you tell me anything that you've ever had to muster?
I muster my courage before going to the meeting to meet my boss, who is very angry against me.
Okay. Well, it's a word that you would need to work with and interact with to really get a full understanding. Now, let's look at B and read the 5 sentences and tell me what word goes where.
We saved the cat from the river, but it looked so sad and betrayed.
Bedraggled.
Betrayed.
So it's going to be 3. Okay.
The course of the Second World War began to change after the British manager to decipher the German codes.
Okay. So this word is managed.
Managed.
The course of the Second World War began to change after the British managed to decipher the German codes. Okay, number 3.
In 1925, the king passed away in his sleep. It was in his muster room, in fact.
Remember, muster is to accomplish something. Yes, he did accomplish death, but that isn't really accomplishing anything. So that doesn't really seem that it would be the answer. So this word very could also be absolute. It could also mean absolute. It was in this very room, in fact.
Okay.
Number 4.
Okay. I couldn't find it by myself. It was a gorgeous day, so we decided to go for a picnic. Then Without warning, there was a downpour and we all got soaked.
Soaked.
We,
Soaked.
we all got soaked.
Very good. Number 5.
I thought it was very, so it was bedraggled. Bedraggled. Bedraggled all his strength for the fight ahead. The boxer stood quietly in the corner. Bedraggled.
No, bedraggled means that something is torn and dirty and
Yes, yes. Okay, I made a mistake. Muster all his strength. Okay, gather together. Okay, muster all his strength for the fight ahead. The boxer stood quietly in the corner. Okay, I understood.
so he had to create something to accomplish the task. He had to create the belief. So he had to muster the strength, the belief that he could win the fight. Okay. Any questions about anything?
No, seems good.
Okay. So we will continue. Oops. So we will now read about the red couch. Did you read the article already?
Yes, I've already read it.
All right. I'll point out any vocabulary words that you mispronounce. If there's something that you don't understand, let's talk about it at the time as you're reading. All right, you may start.
Okay. I first saw the red coach in 1970s. At the time, I ran a small furniture restoration workshop in the Retiro area of Buenos Aires. It was a 19th century two-seater French, tightly upholstered, but with frayed cloth in several places where it dived below the hard backing. Valeria Flores had the piece brought in for repair and bore the troubled look of a woman who was saying her last goodbyes to a beloved pet.
Okay, this word dived.
Dived.
Mhm. Dived, and this one is Valeria.
Valeria.
Okay, and what does the word dived actually mean?
Very, very deep under the backing of the coach.
Mm-hmm. To fall downward.
Okay.
As
Okay. For example, diver is a man who dives in the sea from the cliff.
Very good. That is correct. And Valeria is her name. Valeria Flores. All right, let's continue. Adriana.
Adriano, tell me the worst, she said, silhouetted black against the dazzling November sun shining into the open workshop front. I can't lift and straighten all of this, Valeria. I'll get this horrid mark cleaned up too. Give me a month, and I'll have it looking like new.
Okay.
She took my hand with all the strength a 94-year-old could muster and told me, eyes watering, Adriano, this beauty has been with us since the 1920s. My own son will sit on this and compose. I understood. Her son, George Flores, had been a brilliant musician in Buenos Aires, heyday in the 1920s, but had died very young.
Could you read this again? Make it one complete sentence and I'll be able to follow. I understood her son George Flores had been a brilliant musician in Buenos Aires heyday in the 1920s, but he died very young. He had been a brilliant musician in Buenos Aires heyday in the 1920s, but he had died very young. Read that again.
I understood. Her son, George Flores, had been a brilliant musician in Buenos Aires heyday in the 1920s, but had died very young. His funeral procession to Recoleta's cemetery under an unseasonable downpour in February 1924 had attracted 50,000 bedraggled mourners. George Flores was truly a legend of the old Buenos Aires. I set to work on the Red Couch, this piece of living history, the same evening. I was curious to discover the source of the bronze stand, which looked for all the world as if someone sitting on the couch had been shot. In 2 days, I'd removed the backing of the couch completely, and there I found a poorly bound cloth sack full of letters. The gummy from many of these envelopes had lifted horribly, staining one whole side of the sack, and subsequently, over the many years in what I guess was a sunny spot in Senora Flores' house, had spoiled the couch backing. I lifted the first letter out of the sack and read the front. Mrs. Jennifer Flores, England. There were no stamps. A quick check inside the sack confirmed that each envelope was addressed to Jennifer Flores, but they had all been placed within the sack without even seeing the inside of a post office. Over the next couple of weeks, I continued to work on the backing of the couch and laid aside the letters without informing Valeria Flores of their discovery. A chance find at an exhibition some 3 weeks later, after I began work on the Red Couch, changed everything. Music in the City 1920 to 1936 was a poorly organized affair, but just before leaving, I discovered a photo of George Flores sitting on the very couch that was currently in my Retiro workshop. He had the look of a man whose heart could bear no further agony. 3 months later, and he was dead. The gloom of George's faces held me transfixed, drew me inside, pulled me down into the despair with him. I had to know where such melancholy came from.
Okay. Any questions?
No, because I work on this article, so I understand it.
Okay. You did say 1926, but it's 36 here.
36, okay.
Okay. All right. Well, very good reading as well. And why didn't George send the letters to Jennifer? Do you remember why he didn't send the letters to Jennifer?
I suppose he was too upset, and he was afraid that the family of Jennifer don't give the letters to Jennifer, and so he wrote the letter for himself, in fact.
Okay. In part 2, what do you think will happen?
In part 2, we discover that, in fact, the Jennifer and George were lovers, and their love had been contraried, had been fell because of the family of Jennifer.
Okay. Now let's read part 2 of the story.
I returned to Retiro immediately and fetched the letters into my study. Over the next 3 days, I immersed myself in a scandal of which I didn't know nothing. Didn't know nothing, but had quite clearly set Buenos Aires whispering in the 20s.
Okay, that word above is fetched.
fetched the letter. I try to understand the reason for your departure, my precious Jennifer. Well, without you here by my side, I lack the ability to even think clearly. I was on the wharf, let it be known. I saw you in your blue bonnet and couldn't dare come closer. George and his cousin Jennifer had been hopelessly in love from what I could decipher from this unsent letter written to Jennifer after her 1923 departure.
Okay, this word is going to be written now. Written.
The scandal they had left behind consumed George in less than 6 months. In these yellow-wheat pages, I witnessed a genius reduced to a wreck.
Reduced
to a wreck. Neighbors, relatives, even friends whisper. Looks, glances strike my bare flesh. Finger points. He's the one, do you remember, they say, taking me for being deaf as well as heartbroken. I find no solace in my music, that which was an anthem for her love, no merely a tuneless accompaniment to the emptiness I feel without you. The letters carried no hint as what had become of Jennifer, borne away to England by her shame-ridden family. Had she also written and sent letters? On the second evening, a clue within the finely penned lines presented itself to me.
Okay, this is going to be pinned.
Penned. As the day draws close and no news is forthcoming, my will to face the world lessens. I dream only of joining you. Tonight, I write these few poor lines and no more. George Flores drank poison on February the 14th, 1924, the day of Saint Valentino, and I discovered 2 years to the day after they first kissed. His mother alone carried the shame on frail shoulders. I continued to read through the increasingly erratic scroll of the man. His final sentence was almost illegible. My last thought will be you, and that God gives you the courage. I made some inquiries with a good friend who worked at La Nación, Argentina's finest daily newspaper. A week later, and Senora Flores, hands clasped slightly in front of her, was looking admiringly at the couch, now restored, and looking as it did in the exhibition photo. Adriano, you could never understand what this means to me. I laid my hand on her wrist and let it sit there a while, hoping to communicate something of what I felt. Senora Flores' driver had just finished inching the coach onto the roof of the car when I heard the workshop phone ring. It was Vittorio, my journalist friend at La Nación. Adriano, I heard back from England. The grave was found. It's best I'd read you the message I received last night. Grave found, Twyford Village, Stone Reeds, Jennifer Flores, Lowing daughter, born July 18, 1903, died February 14, 1924. Only God can take from us our sins.
Hey, very good reading. Any questions?
No, but I need to read this several times to understand, but it was a good article.
Mm-hmm. So what happened to Jennifer?
Jennifer committed suicide the same day as George, because she was very sad to lost him, and her family doesn't want to agree to the wedding.
Mm-hmm. Now, did did which one of them committed suicide? Was it Jennifer or was it
The,
George?
the, the two of the couple committed suicide the same day.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. I didn't realize they both died on the same day. Okay. All right, then we'll go with that. And do you think the lovers had a plan when they were separated?
I suppose. I suppose that before to be separated, they swear together, they swear to each other that if they were separated, they will die.
Mm, okay. Do you know of any people, famous or not famous, that have a love
Yes,
story
we
like
could think of Romeo and Juliet.
that? Mm-hmm. That's right, Romeo and Juliet. And tell me which one of these sentences in part F. Try to say it in conversation or in complete sentence. The narrator saw the red couch soon after George died. Did the narrator see the red couch after George died? Is that true or false?
The narrator saw the red coach. No, no, the narrator saw the red coach nearly 50 years after George died.
Very good. So
The,
the answer for that one is going to be
the
false.
false.
Okay, number 2.
The old woman was pessimistic about the restoration of the coach. Sure, it's true, because she looked at with troubled eyes. The old woman had been famous many years before. No, the old woman was a normal woman. It wasn't famous. The
Okay.
mark of the coach had come from the stamps on the envelopes. False. The mark on the coach had come from the gumming of the envelope who, who lift
Mhm.
on the clothes.
Number 5.
The letters in the sack had been returned unopened to George. False. The letters in the sack sent, never been sent to Jennifer.
Okay.
It was only after visiting the exhibition that the narrator's interest in the case reawakened. Yes, after he visited the exposition and saw the picture of George on the couch, his interest has been reawakened. Jennifer refused to speak to George on the day she left by ship. No, no, because Jennifer didn't see George. He couldn't dare to go close to the ship. The young couple were planning to get married. They didn't say that in the text, but I suppose they swear to be married one day.
Mhm.
Jennifer's family left due to the embarrassment caused by the affair. Yes, Jennifer's family left because she was very ashamed of the affair. Jennifer killed herself on the same day as George. Sure, sure.
Herself. Herself. Okay. Very nice. Your comprehension, your understanding of the article is excellent. And that takes us to, I think, the very end. So we want the teacher's notes. I will stop my. I'd like for you to tell me about the story using mustard, downpour, bedraggled, very, and
Yes,
decipher.
yes. I
Try
tried.
to, try to do it in about 1 minute.
Yes, I tried. The story is a story of the two lawyers who muster their will to ask their family the right to be married. But unfortunately, as the downpour could fall on their head, the family refused, the family of the woman refused to let them marry. So they were completely sad and betrayed, and they exchanged letter during some. They wanted to exchange letter for after their separation, but unfortunately, the letters were never sent by George and never read by Jennifer. One day, the narrator deciphered those letters and understood all the affair. He was very upset of that, and he told us the story, which was very interesting. He had deciphered the letters.
Okay, good. All right, so in this story, we learned that George and Jennifer were not able to muster the courage to face their families. George and Jennifer committed suicide, or they both died, and at the funeral there was a downpour of rain. The people that attended the funeral were bedraggled in their appearance, but I would imagine they were very happy to be able to attend the funeral. We finally saw that during the reupholstering of the furniture, that there were many letters hidden in the couch that had to be deciphered to make meaning out of what was written and why. All right, so there we have our vocabulary words, our uses of the vocabulary words, and an opportunity to study just a little more.